Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. StratGamer here, providing you with new Anno 1800 content today. And I'm very excited. This is my first video on my new setup, a new computer. So hopefully the frame rate, the quality of Anno, everything is gonna be a lot better than my previous videos. If you can't see the difference, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below. That would be really appreciated. And today we're going to talk about ships. All the Anno 1800 ships that you can get, many that you may not know about, understanding which one I prefer, why, and also which items I use on each ships. But before we get started, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you want to discover, master strategy, city building, simulation games, from walkthroughs to just description and tips and tricks, that's exactly what I cover. So don't hesitate to subscribe so you'll never miss another video and you'll support the channel. And also don't hesitate, as I said before, to leave a comment below if you want to share what you hope to learn in this video, a question that you may still have, or a request for another video. I promise I will do my best to answer each and every one of you. Okay, let's dive in. So we're going to talk about both military and transport ship. Thank you, Anne. And to be clear, you can use your military ship for transport too, right? Um, in particular, if you're at war with Anne or somebody else, it can be quite useful, but they're not your optimal choice to transport goods. I'll be showing you both gameplay inside using the internal asset viewer, which you can access with Control T, like this, as well as the external asset viewer. Here is the external asset viewer. I will post the link to it in the video description below. If you don't know about it, why am I also using the external one? Well, because you actually do get a bit more information in this external one than in the internal one. Let's take an example, the Dominaire. In the external asset viewer, sorry, you can see the cost to actually transmute it, which you don't see in the internal one. And if we now take something else, like one of the captains, it does give you more information like the expedition bonus, which to be honest aren't that important for us here in this video. But if you click here, you actually get for each of the possible ways to get it, the percentage. So that's quite interesting. For example, in tourism, you can see depending on your attractiveness, chance to get it for each of the type of expeditions. So that is quite useful to know where to get it easily or more easily than others, let's say. Get back into the game. So what are we going to cover in this video again? Four things. One, what is important to know about ships in general. Two, a quick overview of all the ships, including some you really may not know about, so stay tuned. Three, my favorite one based on different situations. For example, if you want to attack from afar, if you're in naval combat, different type of elements. And then fourth, quite important, is which item I use to maximize um, the effectiveness of each type of ships. And as always, stay tuned because I also have some bonuses for you at the end. Okay, so number one, what is important to know about different ships? Oh, that's a nice bug here. So let's select one ship, for example, this battle cruiser here. If you hover over here in space, if you hover over the ship here, you can see a few elements. First, the speed. Well, that's obviously quite important, especially in military. Then the hit points, which is sort of the health. And thirdly, the damage per second. That's the first element, especially important for military ships, right? What's more important, including for all ships, is just below. It's one, the cargo space. So here you can see 50 for each times 3, so 150 in total. So again, as I said, if you're at war, you may actually want to use such a ship to transport your important goods and expensive goods, for example. And then the item slots. And for this battle cruiser here, you can see 4. So that's actually quite a lot, where you can personalize what you like about the ship. And then one element that's also very important for military ships is their attack range. So if you over here, or actually it's very far, it's hard to see, you can see this second, so there's a third small circle here and a larger that you can see all above here, right? So that's how far I can attack with this ship. And you see for some others, maybe this one, it's a lot closer. This one also very close because it's fire. And then lastly,
Battle deck to attention.
an element that's important for expedition is what do the ship itself provide in terms of bonuses, and usually it's in terms of navigation and or naval power. So here are the main things you want to know about the ship before buying it, before building it, especially before making a whole fleet out of it. If you look here, for example, on my trade routes, so these are very old early games that I've been using that I'm now transforming into more late game extravaganza steamers. And later, when I'm done with that, I'll actually move to also Great Easterns. I'll really discuss later. Now let's talk about the different types of ships. In this video, I will focus on the steam ships. Means the ships that don't have sails. Means the ships that don't have sails. And why? Because personally, I don't really like to be at the mercy of wind for the sail ships. They do some of them do have their advantages. I don't dispute that. I just don't like it in my game. I prefer the sort of consistency of steam that's always going at the same speed. If you do want me to speak about some of the sail ships, do tell me in the comments below. Okay, let's start with the classic ships, and it's ships that most of you should know if you've been playing Anno. The first one is here, the cargo
Anyone for
ship.
croquet?
You can see it as somewhat nice speed, 10 knots, hit points 4000, an interesting 6 slots of 50, so 300, and 2 item slots. So fairly good. Basic transport for your mid-end game. Then the battle cruiser, just
An
next to it.
empire covers both land and sea.
A speed just below it, so it's good to know that your cargoes could outrun a battle cruiser. More hit points and then damage per second. It means this is a military ship versus a cargo cannot do any damages. It's a bit slower, as I said, but quite powerful. Then here, the
Yes,
third
Your
one.
Majesty. She eats so fast, but when she stops, so must we.
So the monitor, the third one, is actually a speed higher, but lower hit point and lower damage per second. So it's you're quicker but less powerful. And the last one that's not here, let's see if I do have some, yeah, here one, is the oil tanker. It has a speed a bit lower, hit points a bit higher, but the key element is only one slot, but for 400, not 50. But this slot is only for oil, nothing else. So, and there's no item slot, you can't improve it. So these are the 4 classic, I would say, ships. And in the Anno wiki, you can see a lot more of their characteristic. I will post the link below, um, and let's take a quick look at it. Okay, We are now on the Anno 1800 wiki page. You can see anno1800fandom.com. Again, I will post the link below, and you can actually see quite some details on all the different ships, in particular, not just the steam ones, but also the sailing ones, um, how much you need to build them, when are they unlocked, things like this. And if you click on each of them, you can also see a lot more details, like this base speed, hit points, cargo slot, the expedition bonus that I mentioned earlier. So quite a bit of different elements. The influence cost, upkeep cost, everything you may want to know. Okay, let's get back into the game. So now we're going to talk about some ships that you may actually not know because they need to be unlocked with some specialist or bought. And how to buy those ones is usually not from Archibald that I was showing before for the classic one, but usually more from the pirates. So let's see here. We actually, I mean, you can see two sailing ships that we can buy at this point. So the pirate frigate, but there's others.
The game is afoot.
And the first one is my basic trading or transport ships is the F Extravaganza steamer. Why do I use it? Well, it still has 6 slots like the cargo ships, but it actually has one more item slot. And this is quite significant because let's say I put something like this Captain Richard gets speed plus 25%. That's significant. Then let's see a few others. This one, the Pirate Monitor. As you can see, it's quite similar to the normal monitor here. What's the difference? Well, its speed is actually higher. So as you can see here, 12.7.
One of the
This one is
many
at 10.6. So again, it is quite significant. So if you want to have a quick fleet, this one is better. And then there's each of the ships that I've mentioned before, like the monitor, the battle cruiser, also has a Pyrphorian equivalent. And what does that mean? It means that they have a flamethrower on board, like
a
this one.
little action.
As you can see here, there's fire. So their range is lower, right? We can see a range way smaller, but they burn the other ships. And lastly, there's also Pyrphorian Warship, which is very similar to the monitor, but just a bit stronger. No need to go too much into detail. Now I say you can buy them or you can unlock them with specialists. What does that mean? Well, let's take a quick look where I'm building my extravaganzas here on this island. So you can see I have my two steamship yards where we can find the basic ones like the cargo ships, the battle cruiser, the monitor, and the oil tanker. But you can also see two others, including the extravaganza steamer. And on your save game on your side, you may not see it. So why am I seeing it? Because here, just next to it, I have an Harbor Master office with Anna Union. And Anna Union, if you read the description, adds the ability to construct the extravaganza steamer. So it is, that's how you unlock these, how you can build yourself these elements. As you can see, as an FYI, I'm also using these two elements here to decrease the construction cost, minus 30%, minus 35%, and the workforce, but that's another element. And then the last element is here. You can see also the Great Eastern. The Great Eastern is probably, and I probably have one somewhere here to show you. Yes, perfect. It's probably the best transport ship. Again, there's no weapon on board, so not military one, but transport one. Why? Well, first you can see 8 cargo slots instead of 6, so it's 400 instead of 300. then 3 slots, so better than the cargo ships again. And lastly, you also have a higher speed. So here at 13.8, if I look at this one, it was only 13. So it's not huge, but it is something. And also higher hit points, so they can basically live longer in a fight, but you don't really want to lose them. The only issue or the only downside is the influence cost. They cost 10 influence instead of 6 for the extravaganza and 3 for the cargo ship. That's a big element. You do need a lot of influence. So this is definitely for your end game. Like if you see myself here, I have 14,000 influence and I have available 3,000. So I'm using quite a lot for sure, um, but I still have a lot more that I could use. And I could also build a lot more investors again. As you can see, my population is only almost 200,000 investors. So can definitely do a lot more. So here it is, ladies and gents, for the overview of all the big ships. Now, let's talk about my favorites. So for to transport, as you can see here, it's definitely the extravaganza steamer for the 3 items that you can have. And since the last DLC of Season 2, you can now build as many Great Eastern as you want. Why? Well, in the past, you could only have one. You would get one from um, a quest from Archibald, and now you can get as many as you want. How? You say, well, it's with the Research
Salty
Institute.
bread where none have tried.
Let's just collect this one. So in the Research Institute, if you go to Major Discovery, you can say Great Eastern Pyramid. Each pyramid enables you to build one more, and you can have as many pyramids as you want. It will just take you time. Um, and why as many as you want? Because so you see here it will cost me 20 to do the next one, and then the next one will increase and increase, but it will be capped at
No
250,000.
person should have to work twice as hard to earn respect. Yet
So as
here we are.
so as long as you have more than 250, like here I have 251, you are fine. You can build as many as you want. So yes, for the transport, that's definitely my choices. Then for battle, well, let's say purely for war, I prefer the battle cruiser. Yes, they are very slow, um, but first, they're contrary to the sailing ships, they're not at the mercy of wind, and with 4 item slots, you can really specialize them nicely, which I'll explain a bit in the next section. But lastly, I would say it's good to also have a small fleet of pirate monitors, which are very, very fast. So you can quickly get to one point to another, for example, save one of your island that's being attacked or something like this. So this was part 3 of what are my favorite ships. And don't hesitate to leave a comment below if you disagree, explain why, please. I'd love to get your thoughts. Now, maybe the most important piece of this video is what are the items that I'm using. So, for the extravaganza and the Great Eastern, we use them to transport good, right? So we want a few elements are important. One is avoiding the cargo slowdown, because when your ships are full, they are actually slower than when they're empty. The second is if you're transporting good, it means you're picking up good and delivering goods, right? So the loading speed is actually quite important. And then the last element is just your speed to go from one point to another because you're trying to transport, all right? Because the higher the speed, the less ships you need, and therefore the less influence you're using. So based on this, what are my favorite elements? And let's move to the asset viewer, as I said earlier. We're now in the asset viewer. Again, I will post a link in the description below if you're interested. The first one is Hermenegilda di Mercente. Why? Because she's covering all three things I just mentioned. She's With her, you don't have any cargo slowdown, minus 100%. Your loading speed is increased by 75%, and you also increase the speed by 20%, which is not the maximum you can get, but quite nice if you add it to the other two elements. And then, why are we in the asset viewer again? Well, to show you how to get her. So let's click here, and you can see there's quite a few ways to get it. The quest for artisans, different expeditions, quest from Eli, quest from Madame Kaina. But if you look at the percentage, the nice percentage are actually tourisms and the research institute. And on top of this, for the research institute, as soon as you've discovered her, then it's a lot easier, right? If you don't know about the Research Institute, you have question about it, um, don't hesitate to click on the link there to my video on the topic. Now, after this one, what other items do I use? Well, first of all, sometimes I actually replace her by another one called hands. And why this one? Well, as you can see, he also has the cargo slowdown and the loading speed with the same numbers, and the trade price decrease. So why would you use it? Well, for example, if you're buying a lot of things from Madame Kaina or somebody else, and your finances are a bit low, well, then he is useful. And again, it's usually via tourism or research institute that is quite easy to get. So now, after you've chosen this one or the other, you still have two more spaces, and usually I use those spaces for speed with two captains. The first being Captain Richards. As you can see, movement speed plus 25%, plus also the self repair, which can be useful if you are at war with somebody, and Captain Smith, which again has movement speed plus 25%, and also take less damages and more hit points. So again, if you're at war, that can be useful. Those two, again, if we look, tourism, some nice numbers if your attractiveness is high, 1.8%, and research institute. So this is for my extravaganza or Great Eastern. Now, for war, as I said earlier, I do like the battle cruisers because 4 items you can then personalize really your type of ships. And I actually usually have 2 types. One is long range. With those long range, I can usually attack ships, buildings, whatever you want, from way further than they can um, strike back. So it's basically sort of free attacking. I'm not taking any damage. So how are we doing that? Well, we're doing that by increasing our range. So let's say the admirals. First is Admiral A's. As you can see, attack range, vision range plus 15%. Also increase damage to building. So that is key, right? Plus 15%, you can be further from everybody and not get attacked. Many ways to get it, but again, the Research Institute usually the way I choose to do it. Then this Admiral Romanov. Again, attack range, vision range, 10% this time, and also damage. As always, tourism and research institute are actually, I would say, the way to go. I'm not saying you can't do any of the other, um, but they are there. Then the third one is not an admiral, it's an almirante, which again will bring you 10 more percent plus speed, attack speed. So we're already at 15 plus 10 plus 10, 35. That's very nice. And the last one I usually add, but I'm not, I think for the last one there's a lot of different combination, is the Dominaire. Why? While increasing the damage per shot and the attack speed. So I'm further away from the enemy, be it ships or buildings, and I will attack quicker, so they sort of don't have time to do um, to strike back in a sense. This one is not with the Research Institute or tourism. This one you have to transmute it, and you can see the cost here, which is mainly the special scrap. And when I say transmute, is with ornate in Trelawney. So that's for the second type of ships, which are my battle cruiser for long range. And the third one is my battle cruisers for what would I say, naval warfare. If you really want attacking not much building, but really other enemies' boats and in particular pirates. And there, for me, what's important is to reduce the damage they are doing to me and to make more damage to them. So to that, I use those four items. First one is this gun or this cannon, which will increase the damage per shot quite a lot, 35%, and the accuracy, which is quite important again. Then the second one I like is again the Dominator, because you get have damage per shot again, but also the speed. And then I complement that with two captain. A new captain that we haven't seen before, which is Captain Felicity. Why? Because she's gonna bring me active healing. So while I'm even fighting, the ship is being repaired. Also the damage slowdown. So even if I'm damaged, I still have the same speed. So I can continue to, move around the enemy. I can escape. And lastly, some more hit points. So more health than the enemy, basically. And the last one is the Captain Smith, which will bring me speed, so I'm faster than the enemy, but which will also protect me by reducing the damages they do to me and increasing my hit points. So this is the four items I use for battle cruisers, sort of naval warfare. Okay, ladies and gents, this was the four topic we wanted to cover today, but wait, don't leave right away. I have some bonuses for you. The first one is not really a steamship, but let's talk about airships. And let's get to the Arctic, because this is where you make airships. And you can see already three of them here. So this is an airship, and this is a sail ship. So that's why you can see minimum, maximum speed, depending on the wind. You can see 4 item slots, so 200, so that's less than the cargo ship, and 2 item sockets, so similar to the cargo ship, but less than the extravaganza. How do you build them? With these airship hangars. And you can see it costs you some elements like sails and gas. So this is from the Arctic. Many people do like them because they can be very quick on long distances if they have the wind with them. Um, as I think you saw when I clicked on one of them, they can go to 50, 40 depending on what items you have on them. And for the items, it's actually not that hard because you don't have a lot of choices. So let's take a look. And if we go to the airships here, you can see there's only 5 elements you can have. The pulley, the propulsion array, the Royal Airship Stem Mimic, the Sport Gondola, and the dedicated airship hoist. Now, this is to transport elements, right? So once again, we want to reduce the cargo slowdown, we want to increase the loading speed, and we want to increase the speed. Um, so this one is the only legendary of them all, and obviously quite nice. Movement speed 20%, loading speed 100%. So covering 2 of the 3 sort of characteristic we're targeting. The problem is you can only get one. It's when you finish the Arctic, you get it from this quest. Of course, if you mod the game, you can get many others, but without modding, you only get one. So we need to replace this one with something else, right? Um, and for something else, well, you can see from the image, there's this one that is sort of similar. You still have the loading speed and you have cargo slowdown. And for this one is transmuting. And this time you don't transmute in Trelawney, you transmute in the Arctic. Then, once you've selected usually this one, you have two choices, in my opinion. One is the Royal um, Airship, which will increase again your loading speed. And the other is the propulsion area, which will increase your movement speed. And you sort of have to choose one or the other, depending on are you using for long distance, short distance. So this was the first bonus around airships. Now the second bonus is I've told you that I've described all the ships, but actually season 3 is coming in a few days, and there's talk of a new ship in season 3. So stay tuned for that. Now, I hope you liked this video. If there's any other specialist items that you really like, that you prefer for your ships, please do share in the comments below. Tell me why you like them. Feel free also to share requests for other videos. And if you did like the video, please hit the like button or subscribe to the channel to really not miss another video and support the channel. Thank you.